So, after decades, it's finally happened. Vince McMahon has retired as CEO and chairman of WWE. I believe he's been there installed as the chairman of WWE for since the 80s, which is almost 5 decades ago. That's pretty crazy. And of course, this comes after a sexual misconduct investigation was launched where Vince allegedly paid millions to women to cover up things that he may have done, especially during his marriage with Linda McMahon, who is a former, I believe, CEO of WWE. She's no longer actually employed by the company, I believe. She launched a political career afterwards. That didn't really seem to pan out too well for her. But of course, Vince is now succeeded by his daughter, Stephanie, who has been a staple in WWE for, decades on her own, since the 90s at the very least, that we know of. And also Nick Khan, who has been in WWE for, I think, 2 years, maybe? 2-3 years. And he was responsible for a lot of the changes. And it seems like he was responsible for a lot of the changes. We don't know officially, just secondhand and through the dirt sheets. And he was responsible for a lot of changes that happened during the COVID era, especially with the reduced role in the company, it seemed like, of Triple H, Paul Levesque, husband to Stephanie, and the changes to NXT 2.0, going from the black and gold to the more colorful, which I actually like the aesthetic of the new NXT. Don't know if I prefer it to the black and gold, but it's not a bad, it's more of a lateral change. That's how I see it anyway. So yeah. Also, there were several high-profile layoffs and firings during the COVID era. People seem to blame Nick Khan for a lot of those, like Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, among others that I'm forgetting. But crazy to think about. This is unprecedented, is what I would call it, especially considering Vince has been a driving force in WWE for decades at this point, obviously, like I said. And seems like a lot of the decisions, the major decisions, the creative decisions, come down from him. And without him at the helm, what's next for WWE? I mean, there's still a lot of changes that we would all like to see. I mean, recently, there's been a lot of criticism of WWE's creative direction, especially since a lot of their major shows, their major events, have been headlined by a handful of top stars, and they have struggled, it seems like, to rebuild new stars, or to build new stars, rather, that can take over, or at least fill in some slots, because we see, obviously Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns a lot, especially, it's been pointed out it's not as often as it seems, but it seems that way because, it seems like WrestleMania for the past few years especially has been headlined by those two to some degree, and as well as some other major events as well. So hopefully this Vince retiring, and it seems like he's out of creative and everything, because earlier in the year when they launched the investigation, he was still going to stay on as the creative lead or something, still being gorilla position where he leads the show, essentially produces it. Seemed like he was still going to be in that role, but it sounds like, based on what I've read, that is no longer the case. He's just gone. So who's going to take that role? it'll be interesting to see because Nick Khan, he seems like he's more involved in the day-to-day business of WWE, but I don't know how involved he is in the creative direction of WWE. You know, so and I don't know how much Stephanie has experience in that arena. You know, will Triple H his role as he's already been, you know, reinstated as, you know, in charge of pretty much talent relations, and who knows if he'll his role will expand beyond that. Personally, I find this pretty exciting because Vince came with a lot of baggage as well, like beyond just the sexual misconduct. But if you've been a fan of wrestling to some degree, you probably have heard some pretty crazy stories about Vince and his time as being in charge of WWE, some of the things that he's helped cover up, and that sort of thing. If you watch Dark Side of the Ring, which is a series you can watch on YouTube, I think it's produced by A&E. I might be wrong about that. I'm going to Google it real quick. But they go into some crazy stories like Jimmy Snuka, the plane ride from hell, and the Owen Hart death that happened on WWE live TV, essentially. I mean, you didn't see it, but, you know, it happened during a pay-per-view. I remember watching that. I believe I was watching that event when I was much younger, and it happened. Crazy. Anyway, exciting times, to a degree. You know, these changes always come with a bit of trepidation. You know, what does the future hold for WWE? But we'll see. For me, personally, I'm excited. I want to move past the Vince era. Like I said, there's been a lot of criticism of the creative direction of WWE, especially from people who have been longtime fans of wrestling, like myself. I don't watch wrestling regularly, like week to week anymore. I do still keep up generally with what's going on, but week to week wrestling is, you know, it's a lot. 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours SmackDown, 2 hours of, or I think an hour of NXT on top of AEW. They're three. I think they have 3 shows now. So yeah, it's a lot of wrestling. Weekly wrestling on TV. That's in addition to all the other promotions out there that you can watch on YouTube or through their subscription service, like New Japan and Ring of Honor, now owned by Tony Khan, who also owns AEW. So yeah, we'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments and all that. What you think of, are you excited about Vince retiring? Are you trepidatious? Are you worried about the future of WWE? I'm curious. I'll be in the comments and discussing with you your thoughts as well. Get back to me. Thanks for listening.